Caller number 8, welcome to the show. You're on with Jovan. Are you here to debate?
Yes, I'm here to debate.
Okay, caller number 8, can I get your name, age, and pronouns, please?
My name is Joe. My age is 25, and my pronouns are he, him.
Okay, Joe, what topic on the board are you calling to debate about?
I am calling to debate about number 2.
Okay, gender affirming care for minors. Joe, now I see here that you think it's a negative, Joe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, Joe, what is the negative?
I just don't believe that kids should be getting gender affirming care, whether that's puberty blockers or, like the operation.
Okay, so this is going to be a slightly different thing than what you, because you told the call screener you specifically view it as a negative. So you would need to provide the reasoning, not just like, I don't believe they should do it. So what would be the actual negative from it, Joe?
Okay, so okay. I believe that we should give them more time, as I just think that too early is not a good thing.
Okay, when does gender affirming care usually begin?
When does gender affirming?
And I assume you're talking
heard
medical gender affirming care.
Okay, yeah. I just believe that they should socially transition first. That's my main view.
But I'm asking you, when you made it a specific claim that you think gender affirming care, like I said, I assume you mean medical, that gender affirming care is done too soon. So how soon do you think it's being done?
Well, I've heard varying things. I don't think that I know the exact age, but I've heard of as early as 12.
Okay, as early as 12, but you're not sure the exact age. So you think it's done you think it's being done too soon, but you're not entirely sure when. You think it could be around 12. What if we're looking at medical gender affirming care? Do you know what the first step of medical affirming care is?
I'm pretty sure it's meeting with doctors, or I think it's either a doctor or a psychologist, and they sit down to make sure that they have gender dysphoria before they further in the process.
Sure. I'm talking about like when it comes to prescribing medicine or doing any of that. What is the first thing that they're usually given?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so I'll answer that question for you. Typically, you start with pubertal suppressants or puberty blockers. Do you know what those are?
Yeah, doesn't that just suppress the puberty until, they get, further,
Yeah, so puberty blockers are a medical treatment that we've been using for a long time, since the 90s, both for cis and trans kids, for slightly different reasons. A trans kid who may go on puberty blockers would do so at an early stage of puberty, and they would do this to prevent puberty, prevent the results of puberty from continuing, so that it gives them time to decide if they want to transition or not. Typically, a trans child who goes on puberty blockers can be on them from anywhere to 12 to 24 months. So if, say, they are 11 or 12 and they go on puberty blockers because they're beginning puberty and they're like, hey, I don't know if this is right for me, but I don't know that I want to go through male puberty. I want to go through female puberty. And they're like, okay, cool. Here's puberty blockers. Then around like 13, maybe 14 would be when they're making the choice on HRT or not. Do you think that this is too soon? Like you said you want them to have more time to think about it. Would this not be them being given the time to think about it?
I understand where you're coming from by saying that giving them puberty blockers to kind of like not all the way alter anything is time to give them to think about it. But I think just because the fact that the puberty blockers do have side effects, it would be better for them to wait longer, maybe until they are maybe I wouldn't say 18. I would say like maybe around like 16-ish.
Okay, so two things maybe that I have
16, 17-ish.
I have two things that I have sort of a contention with here. You said because of the side effects. What are the side effects of puberty blockers that you think are too much to risk someone going on them?
From what I've seen, I know that it affects the bone density, bone growth, and also growth spurt. But that's not really crazy. Growth spurt's not really crazy. But I think the bone density and just like your bones growing incorrectly, it can cause problems most definitely.
Sure. So when we're looking at bone density in relation to puberty blockers, doctors can do a lot of things to mitigate this. One is prescribing calcium or some other type of supplement to uh, to get through that. The other would be just monitoring the child during their time on pubertal suppressants and checking to make sure that their bone density doesn't get into levels where they looks like they may be getting osteoporosis or something like that. If this is the case that the doctors are monitoring them, would you say that this mitigates the that risk?
Yeah, I can say that mitigates that risk.
Okay, great. So we've got that one taken care of. So since we know that the side effects can be mitigated by just simple monitoring from the doctor or possible supplements, um, you can agree with me then that there doesn't seem to be any relative or statistically significant harm done from allowing people under the age of 16 to go on puberty blockers.
I can concede that.
Okay, great. So we're sold on puberty blockers. So you and me both agree. Kids who hit Tanner stage 2, which can happen anywhere from like 10, 11 to 12, 13. Kids who go on Tanner state who hit Tanner stage 2, they can get puberty blockers. They can be on them anywhere from 12 to 24 months until they feel they're ready for HRT. Now, another thing you talked about that I want to just touch on about the puberty blockers thing is you said you felt that people should wait until they're 16, possibly older, to do these treatments. Um, Part of the issue with this is if you have a trans girl who goes through male puberty, so their body does all of the things that you would do when you go through male puberty, you would recognize, I would hope, that what would happen is gender affirming medical treatment would now become a bit more costly and more difficult because we now have to try to reverse the effects of male puberty as opposed to just making it so they never go through those effects of male puberty to begin with.
Okay, okay, I can understand that. I just okay. So from my point of view, what I'm thinking is, I'm thinking that because you say from 10 and up, I'm thinking that at the point to where they get the evaluation, they go through what I would say a social transition until they hit that 16. And if they still feel that way, I don't know how far along. I don't know if like due to what you just told me, I don't know if 16 is too far within puberty for it to
16 would be
be
pretty
like
far within
more
puberty. I
costly.
mean, by the age of 16, your voice could have already deepened enough. Your face could have become a bit more masculine in the sense of like a more solid jawline or things like that. So 16, a lot can have happened from puberty, and now we're looking at reversing. So part of this is like let's say we're looking at just the voice. Now, vocal training is something that can be done. Vocal training can help raise the pitch or timbre of your voice, but it can only go so far. So if somebody now has a more masculine voice because they would have gone through male puberty, they might be looking at vocal feminization surgery, which, if I'm remembering correctly, is a shaving of the vocal cords in order to I think it's you want them tightened to have a higher voice, but it's like the shaving of the vocal cords in order to increase the pitch or timbre of your voice. This is going to be more cost effective and it's going to be more invasive than HRT would have been.
Okay. Okay. Uh, I ain't gonna lie, you got me on a lot of points. I thought I had this pack, but I ain't gonna lie, you got me. You got
Okay.
me. I'm
Can
trying to think.
you where we are right now in the conversation, Joe, can you say to me, based on what I have told you, that you are in agreement that you think it is okay for minors to receive gender affirming care that is monitored by their doctors and approved by their parents.
I can't all the way say yes, but I wouldn't say that I'm all the way as hard as a no as I was when I first called.
Okay, then what are your
I
what
can
are
definitely
still
say that.
your you still have hangups, that's fine. What are they? What are still the things, because if it's just that if it's some level of intuition where you're like, well, I just feel that it shouldn't happen, there's not much I can continue to tell you in the conversation. You need to like sit and think with it for a little while. But if there are still arguments that you have against it, that I can hear and provide you counters to.
Okay, so I feel like the only way I could further our argument is if I ask you this question: do you believe that gender dysphoria is a mental illness?
It is a mental disorder. I wouldn't classify it as a mental illness, based on just the way that we classify illnesses versus disorders. But a severe gender
Okay.
dysphoria, and this is going to be gender dysphoria is different than. I wish they would use two different terms. Maybe I'll just start saying gender incongruence because I think that's actually the term I should be using. But feeling gender dysphoria sometimes is different than being diagnosed with gender dysphoria.
Okay. Okay, because I feel as though gender dysphoria, I will use the term you use, mental disorder, instead of illness. But I
It is
feel as
considered a
though
disorder.
gender dysphoria is is a mental disorder, and I feel as though it should be
I get a little careful
treated.
when I get a little careful when we say mental disorder, because that denotes some way the brain is not functioning properly, but the brain of trans people are functioning completely properly. Even somebody with severe gender dysphoria, their brains aren't functioning improperly in any way. I would more classify it as like a medical
That their
disorder.
brains. Okay, yeah, I wouldn't say that their brains are like like you know functioning improperly, but I would say that it does have a slight. I wouldn't. I would say problem is too severe of a word, but it does have a slight you know what I'm trying to say,
Well,
differentiation
so
when it
the
comes
thing
to that gender part.
Well, the thing is, when it comes to gender dysphoria is just denoting an immense amount of stress that you feel because your gender identity isn't aligning with phenotypic traits of your sex. So it's just the gender dysphoria is just saying that you are experiencing stress and that this stress is caused by this thing. So it's not like even when we're labeling it a disorder, it's not like we're saying there's something wrong with you. We're saying that you are experiencing, it's like anxiety. Anxiety is you're experiencing a mass level of stress around certain things, right? So it's the stress is what's happening when we're looking at gender dysphoria.
Okay, I'm kind of looking at it like this, and this may be a bad example. Okay, so say somebody is quote unquote ugly, let's say, and they're stressed due to them being ugly. So I feel like instead of them going to get plastic surgery in order to fix that, they like take time to become comfortable in what they are, and maybe they discover that they not actually ugly or something like that. You kind of see what I'm saying?
I don't think it maps one to one. I understand what you're trying to get at. I don't think it's a great map onto gender dysphoria because again, it's about this stress because of an incongruence between your gender and your sex. There isn't really an incongruence around like you feeling ugly, right? We people have body image issues, and there is a in the DSM-5 there is something around body issues. I don't remember what the disorder is called, um, but it's going to be a little bit different. And I wouldn't even I would say it's even different from like body dysmorphia and things like that because body dysmorphia you sometimes are even seeing yourself differently than what you're actually seeing. Like a trans person who looks at themselves in the mirror sees their body exactly how it is, and it's seeing their body how it is that causes them stress. When you have somebody with like I know that we're not talking about it, but when you have somebody with like body dysmorphia, they can oftentimes see their body in the mirror differently than their body is actually in reality. So they're actually seeing something different. And then you have like body image issues where you see what you look like, but because of like societal beauty standards, you feel that you're ugly. But like if somebody were to say, "Hey, I feel ugly, I want to get plastic surgery," I'd be like, "Okay, cool. When you're old enough to get plastic surgery, get plastic surgery. If that's what'll make you feel better, go nuts." Or if they're like, "Hey, I'm ugly, I want to like dress differently," go crazy. I'm ugly, I want to start going to the gym, go wild.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I guess now that I've talked to you, I can see that what I was bringing is that there's multiple ways to go by this, but from what you're showing me, they're already going by it multiple ways. It's just that gender affirming care tends to be the best way to go by this.
Yes, gender affirming care, based on all the research we have, is the safest and most effective way of treating severe gender dysphoria.
Okay. So it would be more on the severe side. So I'm probably just thinking of it too broad of like anybody with gender dysphoria is getting this care, which is probably not true.
No, even if we look at
severe is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, even if we look at the trans people who are receiving now, some would argue, and I may agree with them in a lot of cases here, that the criteria is too strict. So a lot of people who need gender affirming care aren't able to get it because it does have a strict criteria. But even right now, not every trans person gets gender affirming care. I might get the number slightly wrong here, but of the like 200,000, I think it's 200,000 youths who are diagnosed with gender dysphoria, we only give like top surgery, for instance, to about 5,000 of them. So it's a very low number. I said 200,000. I think it actually might only be 40,000 that are diagnosed gender dysphoric each year. But still, it's such a low number that actually receive the medical treatment. Now, I think that probably should be looked at and changed slightly because those numbers don't really show us anything. And based on the actual data, it shows that it may be harming more than it's helping. But currently, not everybody who feels gender dysphoria is given medical care. It's given to people that truly need it, and it does prove to be effective in treating for those people.
Okay. So now, since we've had more dialogue, I can say that I do concede almost my entire point, and I feel like that I am more on your side, and I more do agree with gender affirming care now.
Okay. Well, Joe, I'm glad we could help educate you on that. I'm glad that you've changed your mind a little bit.
Yeah, it was nice talking to you, and I do just want to say before we disconnect that I just found your content and I do like watching it, and that fuck that nigga Trump. That's all I got to say.
I agree. Fuck Donald Trump. Thank you for calling in, Joe. You have a great rest of your day and stay frosty. Hey, thank you all for watching this video. If you don't know me, I'm Jovan Bradley. I'm a leftist content creator who does debates, political commentary, gaming, and more. If this is your first video, thanks for sticking to the end, and I hope you subscribe. I post videos daily, and there are hundreds of past debates on my page for you to enjoy. Thank you to all of my YouTube members. Your continued support helps me create as much as I can. Consider joining. A membership starts at $2.99 and gets you access to our community Discord, early access to videos, and more. Shout out to my Tier 4 members, Ovaltine, Sylvia Snow, Bamji, Emery Imogene, Ayla Ursus, Zurith Moonpaw, Vel, Kelsey K, Jake Gorshander, Matthew Holloway, Kazim, Vampy, Yemye, and Dragon Nerd. Your continued support goes a long way to me continuing the fight for equity, justice, and education. Thank you again for watching.